What if everything you've ever believed about purpose is upside down? What if meaning isn't something you discover, but something you create? Imagine waking up one day and realizing that the world doesn't come preloaded with purpose. No grand script. No universal plan tailored just for you. Just blank space, silent, neutral, indifferent. For most people, that thought is terrifying. But for a few, it's the most liberating realization they'll ever have. Because if there is no built-in meaning, then you are free. We often grow up believing that meaning is something external, something we must chase, uncover, or be chosen for. A perfect career, a soulmate, a calling that feels almost destined. But what happens when none of that arrives? When life feels repetitive, empty, or even random? Most people fall into quiet despair, assuming something is broken. But maybe nothing is broken at all. Maybe the mistake lies in the assumption that meaning must be found, instead of built. Look closely at the moments that felt meaningful in your life. Was it the job title itself? Or the effort you poured into it? Was it the relationship label? Or the connection you nurtured every day? Meaning rarely comes from the thing itself. It comes from what you invest into it. Your attention, your energy, your intention. A simple act like sharing a meal can feel routine, or it can feel sacred. The difference is not in the act, but in the awareness you bring to it. This is where most people miss the point. They keep searching for extraordinary circumstances to feel meaningful, while ignoring the extraordinary power they already hold, to assign meaning to the ordinary. Think about this carefully. Two people can live the exact same life and experience it completely differently. One feels trapped, the other feels purposeful. One sees obligation, the other sees opportunity. The external reality is identical, but the internal interpretation transforms everything. This is not about denial or blind positivity. It's about authorship. You are not just a participant in life, you are also its narrator. And the story you tell yourself about your experiences determines how meaningful they feel. There's a powerful shift that happens when you stop asking, "What does this mean?" and start asking, "What meaning can I give this?" Suddenly, even struggle becomes material. Even pain becomes part of a larger narrative. Challenges stop being interruptions and start becoming chapters. History is filled with people who created meaning in the harshest conditions imaginable. Not because their circumstances were meaningful, but because they chose to respond in a way that gave those circumstances purpose. They turned suffering into strength, chaos into clarity, and uncertainty into direction. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If meaning were already built into everything, you wouldn't have this power. You would just follow a script. There would be no creativity in how you live your life. No ownership. No individuality. The absence of inherent meaning is not a flaw in life. It's an invitation. An invitation to decide what matters to you. To define your own values. To create a personal code that guides your actions. To wake up each day and say, "Today, I choose what this means." This is where responsibility enters the picture. Freedom without responsibility is chaos. But when you pair the freedom to create meaning with the responsibility to live intentionally, something powerful happens. You stop drifting and start designing your life. You begin to realize that meaning is not a destination you arrive at one day. It's a process, a daily act, a continuous decision. You create meaning when you commit to growth, even when no one is watching. You create meaning when you show up for people, even when it's inconvenient. You create meaning when you take something small and choose to do it with care, precision, and pride. And yes, there will be days when everything feels pointless. Days when your efforts seem invisible. Days when doubt creeps in and whispers, "What's the point?" But that question itself is a turning point. Because the answer is not out there. It's in you. The point is whatever you decide it is. This doesn't mean everything will suddenly feel magical. But it does mean you are no longer dependent on external validation to feel purposeful. You become the source of your own meaning, and that changes everything. When you understand this, you stop waiting. You stop delaying your life until the right moment arrives. You stop believing that purpose is reserved for a select few. You realize that meaning is not a privilege, it's a choice. A choice you can make right now. So instead of asking whether life has meaning, ask yourself a more powerful question. What kind of meaning do I want to create? Do you want to create meaning through impact, through growth, through connection, through mastery? There is no single correct answer. That's the beauty of it. Your meaning doesn't have to look like anyone else's. But it does have to be intentional. Because if you don't choose your meaning, you will unconsciously adopt someone else's. Society will hand you definitions of success. Culture will give you checklists. And before you know it, you'll be living a life that looks complete on the outside but feels empty on the inside. Creating meaning is not always easy. It requires reflection. It requires courage. It requires you to confront the uncomfortable reality that you are responsible for how your life feels. But it's also deeply empowering. Because it means that no matter where you are right now, no matter how uncertain, how lost, or how ordinary your life may seem, you still have the power to make it meaningful. Right here. Right now. So start small. Choose one thing today and decide that it matters. Give it your full attention, your full presence, your full effort, and notice how it changes the way you experience it. That's how meaning is created. Not in grand revelations, not in distant futures, but in the quiet, deliberate choices you make every single day. And if this idea resonates with you, don't just let it pass as another thought. Act on it. Share it. Reflect on it. And most importantly, subscribe to this mindset of intentional living, because your life doesn't need to come with meaning pre-installed. You have the power to build it yourself.